I, first, the first question is like binary search iterator, and we have to implement the BST iterator class that represents an iterator over the in-order traversal of binary search tree. So this is it's a constructor which will initialize the object of this class, and the root of the BST is given as a part of constructor. The pointer should be initialized to a non-existent number smaller than any element in the BST. Now, there is a function called hasNext, Boolean function which returns true if there exists a number in the traversal to the right of the pointer, otherwise false. And int next moves the pointer to the right and returns a number at the pointer. And notice that by initializing the pointer to a non-existent smaller number, the first call to the next will return the smallest element in BST. You may assume that next calls will always be valid. There will be at least a next number in the traversal in order traversal when next is called. Yeah, this is your iterator, right? So we have initialized. I mean, this is the initial, what you say, the nodes of a tree, and next function is called. So next function will return your moves to the right and returns a number to the pointer. So 15 should be returned, right?
No, the smallest
Three.
number.
In order traversal, right?
Okay, 3 will be returned, yeah. Oh, in order, yeah. But why they are saying that moves to the right?
So if you
For
do the
next.
in-order traversal and then if you start iterating, so
It will
the
move
first element will be after
sorted
the
order.
yeah.
Sorted. So that is your 3. Then next will be 7, and hasNext will check whether, what do you say, hasNext has, if there exists number to the right of the pointer. Okay.
Yeah, basically, if,
right?
basically, if there is any number which is still in existence, which we have not completed in the in order, so it will have to return true. Right. Basically, the iterator actually starts from the leftmost one and goes all the way to the extreme right, right? So if you're still traversing the tree and if you are in middle somewhere, if you have not completed the traversal, okay, so your hasNext should always return true.
True in the case, yeah. Again, next, like 3, 7 you already got, so the next number in other traversal will be 9, right? So next is 9, and still element is left to be explored, so hasNext is true. Then next is 15, and hasNext is true. Again, next we are asking 20. Now we have used all the elements of this tree, right? So yeah, so there is no other element to be explored, so hasNext is false after that, right?
Yeah.
Here, and the number of nodes in the tree is in this range, and this is your node val, and at most 10 to the power 5 calls you can make. Can you implement next and hasNext in OAuth one time and use OAuth H is the height? Okay. Yeah, this means then again normal in order traversal we should do, right? And just check in the array. If they are asking next element, we should return the next to the right, and hasNext will check whether there is element left in the stack or not, isn't it? Something like that, or
yeah, but that is a follow-up, right? So if it's not a follow-up, initially you will not actually come to that optimized solution,
Yeah,
right?
since they have specifically mentioned in order traversal, so the first approach would be first we do in order traversal and store all the nodes in some container. And then we can start from the leftmost end, and whenever next is called, we can just return the value at the left end and just increment the left pointer, and the hasNext function will just check if our left pointer does not go out of bound, which is the size of the container.
Correct. Yeah.
yeah.
And then we can optimize our space part.
So how you will fill the container?
We can just do the recursive in order or iterative pre-order, and in the constructor itself, we can first fill the given container, and then for each of the function calls, we just need to return or just need to check if our pointer does not go to the rightmost end of the container.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to share?
Yeah, I'll share.
So for space optimized, what to do? 2 pointers will be using about something. Okay, let's go through this.
So yeah, that's a good thing to discuss. Okay, let's finish this one first.
Yeah, so first I've declared the traversal vector, which will have all the particular nodes of the given BST, and then the index. So these two are required for this question. And then in the constructor, I've initialized my index to the leftmost end, and then I've assigned traversal to the in order traversal of the tree. So this is the iterative in order traversal, which will return me the vector v containing values of each of the nodes. Now for each of the function calls, I just need to return the value in the container at that particular index, and then I just need to increment my pointer. So this is why this post increment is done. And for has next, I just have to check if my pointer does not go out of the size of the given traversal vector, which will hold all the values of the PST.
So in order travel, I mean, iterative in order traversal you are using to fill up your container, right?
Yeah, yeah. So this is
Yeah,
the
so you
simple
could have
approach.
used instead of this iterative one, you could have used a recursive also, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's easier to implement. That's why people prefer. Because in interview, mostly they'll push you towards iterative in order, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I find this while loop to be easier than the recursive one.
Yeah,
Both
but
are
in this
almost.
case, see what happens is you are using a stack, an
Yeah.
explicit stack. Yeah, you will surely use a call stack in the
Yeah.
recursive
Yeah.
one.
Yes, true.
But if it's like why usually whenever it comes to recursive implementation, we tend to ignore that stack, right?
Call
So this
stack.
Yeah.
is this is an explicit stack what you are using. So maybe we'll have to consider this in our space, but that actually they might ignore, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's true. But no, for practice, we should keep this because that's easy recursive, right? You will check
Yeah,
left,
just
row, and then right. But
three lines of code,
yeah,
three
but
to
here
four
you
lines.
get confused. Here you will confuse, and if you don't have practice in interview, like I mean, it's trivial, but at times like some problem can happen while implementing.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So in this approach, again, we are using a extra pig of the total number of nodes, which is n here. So we are using an extra space factor. But since they have specifically mentioned in the follow-up that at most we can use O of h, where h is the height of the tree. Even here, if we take the space complexity of the explicit stack here, at most this stack will be filled with h nodes. So the total space complexity will be almost O of n plus h here. So to reduce this complexity, but anyways, both the function calls which they have mentioned will be done in constant time. But whenever we are initializing our vector, whenever we are calling our constructor or declaring our class, there only we are iterating through the whole tree. So to reduce this complexity, we can take the idea of the uh, iterative in order traversal itself, where uh, yeah, so this is the main part of the iterative in order traversal. Now if you look at this closely, we'll find that at most in the stack we have only h number of nodes, which is height of the tree. So this is what we have to use in our the optimized version. And let's see how I implemented this. So, so if you see, I've you declared the in order traversal here again, but I will not use it. This is just for reference. Now, whenever my constructor, my class object of the class will be declared, first I will assign my root to the root passed in the constructor, and then I will keep going to the leftmost end, which is 3 here. So I'll keep pushing values inside my stack, uh, which is of type tree node, and I will keep pushing until the root falls to null. So here, 3, 7 will be pushed first, then 3 will be pushed. So this is what constructor will be doing. It will be moving to the leftmost end, which is the smallest value in the given uh, BST. Now, after the constructor is done, in the next function, first I assign the answer. Yeah, okay, we can assign it later as well. Now, in the next function, if we look at this closely, this is exactly same like the in order traversal. So first we check if the root does not fall to some null value. If it does not fall to some null values, for example, if it is at 7, we'll keep pushing all the values till we get to left. The reason is we need the smallest value in the given BST. And this is what in order traversal does. It returns us the given traversal of the tree in ascending order. So we'll keep pushing the values until the root falls to null, and then we'll just take back the last node from the tree, and that is the current answer for the next call. And then after I've assigned it to my answer, I'll just move to the right pointer of the that current node. For example, here, if 3 is the root here, now I'll assign the value of 3 to the answer, and then root will point to the right of the current root, which is null here. So anyways, it can point to null at any particular instant, no issues. Since even in the iterative reversal, at some moments the root can point to null, and then we just need to return the answer. Now, if we see the has next function, this is same like the while condition of the iterative in order traversal, which is either of the stack is empty or the root points to null. So if any of this is not satisfied, this means that some nodes are present in the traversal, so we can just return true here. So this is why I even added the in order traversal here. If we look at this closely, this is exactly the in order traversal of the tree, but in order traversal of the tree, iterative in order traversal, at most in stack we have h number of nodes, which is the height of the tree. So this is why here the author have pushed us to this approach, which is consuming only O of h memory. Now, the has next function will be implemented at constant time, since we just need to either check the root is null or stack is empty or not. But the next function, this might happen that I'm at, for example, I am at if there was one more value after 3, which is 1. So three values will be pushed in the stack, and three is the height of the tree also. So this is why the next function will have the complexity of big of h here, and this is what we had to do in the follow-up.
Yeah, that's good. So you could actually have extracted, or maybe made this while loop, whatever you're doing, in a separate function and could have used it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we could have further modularized it by, since we are calling it again in the constructor itself and again in the next function. So this part I could have again modularized it somewhere in another function.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So there is one more question on the chat. Harshit is asking, why are you pushing in the stack in the next?
Yeah. So the constructor one is done only for the initial cases, but for example, if 15 is the current node, then again I need to push all the elements. So for the initial case, we could have just removed this part and even then the code would work. But anyways,
Yeah, because whenever you go to any node, you still have to go to its left, right?
yeah.
So therefore, you still have to push that to the stack. That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just stop sharing.
Thank you.
Let's see what. So yeah. So here what I'm doing in the constructor, I'm just initializing the stack and going extreme left, right. As long as the root is not empty, I'm just pushing the root into the stack and roots left, roots left. And has next, I mean, because if your stack is not empty, then it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. And
Yeah,
coming
see,
to
yeah, that's one thing, Shashank. Just for a minute, if you hold on that line 15, see,
Yeah.
Abhishek here, he is just checking for the stack. He's not checking the root here. Correct. So I
Yeah.
don't think so. You need to check the root also here. Is it not?
Because root I'm checking here itself by pushing every element into the stack. Once the root is empty, it will come out of the stack, right? And
Yeah.
that I'm checking.
Okay.
Right.
No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's again normal in order, I think, because top of the you pick the node out of it and go to its we take the right of it, right? Left in order, right? And then check as long as right exists, you keep on pushing to the stack and then go to its left. And then
Okay.
it done.
Yeah. So in the case of the previous solution, the right was done after the while loop,
While loop, yeah.
right?
I think
In
Abhishek
Abhishek solution, okay, so you are doing it before this. Okay.
yes, yeah. So first left and then right and then left. It's left. Yeah.
Okay, there is one more question on the chat. Just curious, can this constraint of O of H memory be implemented if we had done this recursively?
Implicit stack you'll use that if you go recursively. So if you don't consider, then call stack is not considered as extra space, right?
Yeah, it depends though.
Yeah.
No, he's saying something different. Can this constraint of OS memory be implemented if we had done this recursively?
So recursive, this part only will do, no? Or everything. Can you speak? I think it will make more sense, Mars.
Yeah, sure. So if we had approached this problem recursively, like everyone has their own approach to like with either do it iteratively or recursively. So if we had done it recursively, then for optimization, will we have to discard the whole solution, or we can modify the recursive approach to ensure this constraint?
So in order only you will implement recursive, right?
Yeah.
So
are you saying that you would split up that recursive solution for next and the constructor, something like that?
Yeah, so what all part of that recursive solution can be reused for this follow-up?
Yeah,
that
is a
will
good
be a
thing.
constant. Yeah, but implicit stack won't be used there. Like recursion, what we'll do at max, we can put this into recursion, right? These two, like in order traversal part, right?
Right.
But again, how will you check this part? Then we'll have to change it, I think.
And again, we need to keep track of the nodes itself.
Right.
So is he saying that we actually split the recursive solution the way we are doing for the hash next to next? Is that what? Because that is a really good way of thinking, I would say. Because if we can do it the iterative way, why can't we do the partial recursion also, right? But yeah, we'll have to use some tricks. I was thinking about it, but I never implemented though. But yeah, if someone has that, that will be really interesting to watch.
You see that, yeah. Yeah, Harshit is saying, I mean that, but so that is what implicit stack will be covered, right? O of H space, which
I just think
is
space complexity will be of H in recursion. But the same will be for the iterative also, no? Is it not?
yeah, whatever the height of a tree, till that only it will go, right?
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, but if you have a recursion way of doing it, and if anyone has implemented, if possible, or if someone does it later, please share it in the Discord.
Mm-hmm. It
Yeah,
will.
yeah. So, have you implemented or did you try to do something? You want to share some of your implementation here?
Not as of now, but I will share it if I
Please,
come
yeah.
up with that.
Sure. Okay, then let's move to next, isn't it? So this is a card flipping game. So on a table there are n cards with positive integer printed on the front and the back of each of the card, right? And we flip any number of cards, and after that we choose one card. If the number X on the back of the chosen card is not on the front of any card, then this number X is good. So they are asking what is the smallest number that is good. If no number is good, you return 0. And here your front of I and back of I represents the number on front and back of the card. And a flip swaps front and back numbers. So the value on the front is now on the back and vice versa. So this is our this is our front and this is our back, right? So if you flip this one, I mean the second card, the our fronts will be this and the back will be this, right?
Okay, but before all
Flip,
this,
yeah.
how many
Yeah,
flips
just check.
are we allowed?
Just check the number of dislikes with respect to the like in this particular question.
Yeah.
Okay. But how many flips are allowed? That's not very clear in the
Any
Yeah, yeah.
number of
problem statement.
The problem statement is not so much clear. This is why most people have disliked it.
dislike.
Even in
Right,
Discuss, they have said about this problem.
right. So, but it looks like if you overall implement it and try to implement or go through all these examples, then it seems we need to do only a single flip, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Only
But
single
but
flip has to be done. Mhm.
yeah, but in the final solution, we can do any number of flips.
In the final solution, mm, how can that be?
Uh, if we take the this example itself, but we just change the back last value of back, which is 3 to 1 again. So no, no. If we change two of the last values to 2 itself, then we have to swap 2 times, I guess, since we need the value 2 as our final answer.
Mm, yes, you choose the second card which has number 2 and it isn't on the front of any card. So
So for me, it looks like he's trying to flip. Okay, first he goes through the front and back because front and back are actually complement of each other. These areas, right? So he will
Yeah.
try to flip each and every possible, unless and until if the front and back have the same values. But he will try to flip one value at a time, and he will just see if that is the optimum one, right? If it is the optimum one, he should return it, but he won't come to know if that's an optimum one till he actually explores all the possibilities, right?
yeah, someone saying something.
So therefore, it seems to be more like a flipping all, but it's, I think maybe I'm wrong. So it's only a one flip what is required.
Yeah, if you flip
Yeah,
the
I will
second
take.
card.
I think I will take some examples and then we can check if the solution works.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I'll just take this example itself and I'll change these two values to 2. Uh, okay. Yeah, now we can see it clearly. So let's see if each of the candidates or each of the possible values are candidate of our final answer or not. So if we take 1 here, uh, we have to see that this one does not occur in any back side of the current cards. Now, if you look at this closely, the that particular card itself has 1 in the back, so we cannot take this one. This makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, if we go to 2 here, if we see here, 2 of the cards have the value 2 in the back, and we don't want any of the values to be 2, so we can just swap the values here. So we'll get 2 here and 4 here, and here we will get 7, and here we'll get 2 again. Now no card has 2 in the back, so 2 can be our answer. Uh, and now we can go to 4 again. 4 cannot be our answer, since the card which has 4 in the front has 4 in the back itself. So anyways, if we swap any of the values, anyways, there will be 4 in the current back itself, current back of the current card itself. So this is why 4 cannot be taken as our final answer. Now 2 is already considered, so we'll not check these two twos again. We'll start with this one. 1 is already considered. Now we check 3. Now 3 is not in any of the back or the front of the card, so we can take 3 as our candidate for the final answer. 4 is already considered. 7 is not considered, but 7, no card has 7 in their front or back except the current card. So we can take 7 as our answer. And then we need to minimize our candidates for the answer. So the final answer will be 2.
Okay. So
So here
minimize.
if we, yeah. In the question they have mentioned, we need to, what is the smallest number that is good? So we just need to find the smallest number on the card, any of the card, which satisfies the given condition,
Okay.
which
But
is,
that does not mean that we need to minimize the flips, right? In that case.
yeah. Flips, they have not mentioned anything regarding flips. We can do any number of flips.
Okay. So
Yeah.
because 2, you made more flips and you could achieve that, therefore that is one candidate. Okay.
Now, if we want to go uh, through this question, we can uh, get an intuition that all the cards which have same values in their front and the back, those values on the card cannot be considered as our final answer. So this is why we can ignore 1 here. This one can be ignored. Again, 4 has the same values. So all the cards which has 4 can be ignored. Now, if we look at this, all the values which we are left off, we just need to find the minimum value.
Hmm.
So I'll just change back to the, yeah. So this is our given example which they have given in the question. So we will just process our given arrays itself. We'll see that 1 occurs both in the front and the back of the same card. So we'll just ignore 1 and all the ones which occur in any of the cards again, since they cannot be a candidate for the answer. Again, 4 has occurred both in the front and the back of one of the cards, so 4 cannot be considered, and this 4 will also not be considered. So we just remove 4 here. Now all the values which we are left up, we'll just find the minimum of all the values. So here 2, 3, 3, 7. So minimum is 2 in the first array and minimum is 3 in the second array. Then we can take the minimum of both the values of the minimum of the both the arrays. So that will be our final answer, which is 2 here.
Okay, that is correct. Okay, but should we also consider 3? 3 should not be a candidate, no, because it has two numbers when you actually transform your arrays.
Yeah,
No, but this is not present on the front, right?
yeah. Three, any of the card does not have three as value in both the front and the back side. So if we want three, how we consider three as our candidate? If we take this three, we can see that none of the values have three in the front or the back here. Since three is in the back of this card, so here none of the front part of the cards have three. So this is why this three was considered as our one of the candidate for the answer.
Okay, but that is slightly confusing, correct? Because if you have three, you can flip it again because you have two
Yeah,
threes, right?
yeah. If there was three here, then we cannot take this three as our answer, because even if we ignore this card itself, if we take this card, this three as the as in consideration, anyways, if we flip this card, we'll get three at front or at the back. So this is why for this case we cannot take three here. But if this is the case, then one of if we consider one of the threes, we can just flip the all the other threes present in the other cards.
Yeah, that's true. But see, if okay, if instead of two we had some bigger number there, and then we could have flipped the one three. Okay, so you still have one three on the back and one three on the front, right? So yeah, maybe. That's, I think what you say makes sense though.
Yeah.
But
So
it looks like usually whenever you have, first of all, we should eliminate the possibility whenever we have back and front as the same. That is right.
yeah,
But when we have three or any number which is somehow you are able to reach on the front and the back, so that actually, and if they are multiples, so should we actually put them in our answer set or not? That is
yeah. I
very,
just
very clear,
I
right?
got your doubt what you are saying. So this is the case which you are talking about. So
Mm,
three here three is present both in the back and the front.
right.
And then since we are considered this three, we get to this point that three is present in both these cards. But if we look at this closely, we can just flip this card and all the threes will be present in one side only.
Mm-hmm.
But if three was present in both the cards, both the sides of any of the card, then anyways, if we flip either of front or back, we'll get three in both the sides. So this is why all the cards which have same values in front and back, they cannot be considered in our answer. But this case where one of the values, so the value does not occur in any of the card in both front and back side, that can be considered as our answer. Since we can flip all the values in one of the sides and then we can get our desired condition which they have mentioned in the question.
Yeah, so that is true. So when we are doing that for three, if we have another number which is like four or so, similarly spread out across like three. So when we are doing this, making all the threes at one side, the other one can be, a candidate like that, what the three is now. So they can always be complementary if we actually start flipping and bringing one of the numbers at the front. So the other will always be at the front and back, right? There can be some
Yeah,
situations like that. So yeah, maybe, yeah. So this is the way we could do it, right?
yeah.
Cool.
So the simple approach would be just put uh, all the values which have all the index which have same values, just put them in any of the set, and then we can just start iterating through each of the arrays and check if the particular element is present in the set or not. If it is present, we will not consider. For example, here 1 and 4 will not be considered. And all the values which are not present in set, we can just find the minimum of all the values. And that will be our answer.
Okay.
But since they have specifically mentioned that the values will lie in the range 1000 only. We can no, the values will lie in the range 2000 only. So we can just use a vector of a container of 2000 index, and we can initialize it with 0. So it will be a Boolean array. And if any of the index have same values in front and back, we can mark it as 1. Now we will start iterating through the front and the back vector, and then check if that particular value is set or not. If it is set, this means that we cannot consider it. If it is not set, then we can just take minimum. So this line, we are taking minimum, and at last, if none of the values existed, like here they have mentioned, if no number is good, just output 0. So since I initialized it with 2001, and 2000 was the last answer which we could possibly get. So if the answer does not change, so we can just return 0, which is our base case where we do not find any good number, and otherwise we can just return our answer.
So you are using constant space here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So implementation wise, it looks very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard, yeah.
Yeah, the main problem is they have not specified how many flips are required. Like even in Discuss, one of the posts is about the problem statement is not clear.
Right.
This problem statement is so confusing. So
But the
they
way
have
you
not.
explained actually make more sense,
Yeah,
Uh,
like is not on the front of any card. So some of the lines they have not specifically mentioned how it is making sense. But
Yeah, is written. Can they pass a TOEFL exam?
yeah. I doubt that author would pass TOEFL exam.
That's okay. Okay, so that is one.
Yeah.
So Shashank.
Yeah. So let me see like what is here. Yeah. Okay. So here we are maintaining an invalid numbers, right? A set like, I mean, if you see numbers on both the sides of the card, and this is the length of the front array, and our current smallest number we have taken at 5001. Okay, because the constraint is only up to what you say 2k for the four front and back, right? We can take any number here. Now these are the valid indices that we'll be maintaining. So we are just going through each of that, whatever the length of the front is. Whenever you see the front and back are both are same, right? So you put all those into your invalid numbers. Otherwise, you put the index into these are the valid indices.
Okay, so
It's
the
like,
valid
I mean,
indices will be the ones which are for your output.
yeah.
Okay, but do you really have to do it here?
Uh, I'm.
Okay, no
We
worries.
can avoid,
Let's see what
right?
happens.
Okay, let's go ahead. Let's see. Why so much? Okay. So now we are going through each of our valid indices. Okay. And now we are checking if that valid index we are checking in our back card, if that is less than the current number, and this is not present in my invalid numbers, like shouldn't be present in both of them, right? But I should have avoided this because all these valid indices are the ones which will never be present in both the front and back, right?
No, it won't, because that is what happens, when you are on that line 11. So the number which you think is valid might be invalid later on.
Okay, in
Right.
some other card,
Yeah,
yeah.
therefore you are actually coming here on 16 again and doing it. But this slightly optimizes because you are only checking the valid indices now, right?
This is yeah.
Yeah, so there is some optimization for sure. Yeah. Okay.
And then we obtain our current smallest number, and similarly for every front, what do you say, front number I check for the given indices whether it is less than this and it is not present in my invalid, then I'll update it, right? And this is just a small check. If this is equal to this, that means you didn't find anything, you'll return 0, otherwise return the current smallest.
Yeah. So I get your
Okay.
point. Why are you doing that valid indices there? And
Yeah.
because it's optimizing over here on for your next for loop.
16. Yeah. But extra space it is using unless unlike Abhishek.
You could also do the almost same thing, right?
Where could like with this part I could have avoided, right? No, but I'll have to check it, right? How will I check then if I remove this invalid numbers? How will I check
Yeah.
which are valid and invalid? That would be the problem.
You would
Or
need
I
this
can
place.
modify the input array itself. If it is invalid, I can put some dot or star or hash, some special symbols
I
with that. No,
don't
but
think so because it's a
again,
reference.
yeah.
It's a reference in C++, so it means they are using that somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's fine. Time complexity wise, you have done some optimizations.
O of n, yeah.
That is good. It's slightly lesser than O of n 2 pass.
2 passes.
Yeah, anyway, both solutions are 2 pass solutions. I don't think we can have any other implementation other than these, right?
Yeah, I think this is most or if somebody has maintained some variable, but it won't work. It's impossible, right? Like how will you keep track of? I thought some variables or something like by modifying the input type, but it won't. Or if anyone has, do share it. I thought of optimizing this space, but no, I don't think so it's possible.
So Max, you can optimize the way Abhishek did. That's the only thing I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move to the next one.
So this is like arranging the coins. You have a total of n coins that you want to form a staircase shape where every k through must have exactly k coins. Given n, find the total number of full staircase that can be formed. So like there are 5, right? 2, 4, and then 1. This is, I mean here 2 should be there. 2 coins should be there, right? But you have insufficient. So only 2 rows are there which can be full completely. So we return 2, right?
Where 2 coins should be there? The first coin should be only 1, no?
Yeah, but this is incomplete. Like
No,
they're
the
saying
last one is incomplete. See, the first coin is only 1, second coin is 2, and the third coin should be 3 coins, but
okay.
it is only 2.
Yeah, I was going descent. Yeah,
No,
last
that is the way because it's staircase. We start with the 1 coin, 2 coin, 3 coin. Okay, so on and so forth.
here one more coin should be there to make a entire staircase. Yes. So
Correct.
here 1, 2, 3, but here 2 you are missing. So only 3 should be there.
Right.
Yeah, will the answer be log of n to the base 2?
Every time you are increasing your steps by
Yeah.
factor of 2, is it? But it's not, right?
Yeah, that can be done, right?
Log 8 base 2, you are saying that logic about.
No, it won't be true. Yeah, because we are not doubling, right? It has to be equal to the level.
Yeah. But yeah, you can do this n into n plus 1 by 2. If it is equal to, you got my point.
Yeah, that is there. Yeah.
So you
It's a
are you
AP,
So we
trying to
can
say
solve the
we can do it in a single line, right?
Yeah, something like this.
yeah. If we solve the quadratic equation, this we can solve in single line, but the square root function which we use in the single line, that would be again implemented square root time. So this is why the complexity will be anyway square root. But if we see the function which is n into n plus 1 by 2, it is monotonically increasing. So we can just do binary search on our final answer. So
Yeah.
if we do binary search, then we can do this in log of n time.
Right.
Binary search. How will you use the binary search?
Yeah. So at least let's go
So
to the basic one, yeah, what you have, and then we will talk about the binary search. Yeah. So the way you are showing, Shashank. on your
No, I
thing?
thought, I'm not sure, like, is that the way I've implemented?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a year back. But... Yeah, okay, I think you have that implementation using Square. I think
Okay.
it's
No problem. So you want Abhishek to go ahead? Yeah.
Shake wants can go ahead. Okay, let's see. So I is 1 year, right? And count of stairs is 0. Now, as long as we have number of coins, we check at every time whether the, what do you say, number of the coins is lesser than n.
And the steps
So
is
that we
lesser
can,
than n. Yeah.
yeah, so that we can pull that particular staircase, whatever the number is. We increase it by 1.
Correct.
Otherwise, once you are, once your I is greater than n, that means you are short of coins. So you return the coins directly. And since you have used I number of coins at the given step, so you reduce your total coin by this and you increase your I plus 1 for the next, what do you say, next staircase. Right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is trivial, I think. I mean, not optimized and wrong.
Yeah, it's a linear time complexity, and that also passes all the test cases. So this is also good solution, right? Yeah. So, but as Abhishek is saying that we could do it using a binary search, let's go and have a look at the solution.
Yeah. Because whenever binary search comes, it's
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just share the first approach, which is the square root n time, which is we can just keep increasing our count and decreasing the variable n. And if at any point the variable n goes less than the count itself, then you can just break out of the loop. So this is the square root of n approach. Then this is the one-liner where we are solving the system of linear equation. There is only one. This is quadratic equation. So this is the quadratic equation which we need to solve. And if we just estimate the values, so this will be the value which will come out. So if this is the quadratic equation, the value of y will be this one. This will be minus plus both. And then if we see this equation, we'll get these values of a, b, c, and if we further substitute it, we will get this equation, and this we need to solve. So this we can solve in one line, which even-
So do you take care of b square minus 4ac should be greater than 0?
Mm,
B
I
square
think
should
we
always,
don't have to check. Yeah,
It is a valid equation now always.
yeah. This will be always valid.
valid only because under root quantity, that is right. That should always be positive. If your
Yeah,
case
yeah.
of
We'll take the positive factor of the square root one since the outside value is negative. So anyways, we need value positive. Then only we will get the final value of n to be positive.
Yeah. Before that, how do you make this equation? It is not necessary that x would be equal to n into n plus 1 by 2, right?
Yeah. Here we are just taking a estimation that this will be equal to x.
Okay, so you take the
Then
integer
only we
value.
can solve. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
this
right.
is why we are taking the floor one. So the floor one would give me the smaller value, which is same as typecasting it to integer.
Okay.
Yeah. So now if we both this approach should be square root of n time because even here, since we are using the built-in square root method, it will be implemented in square root of n time. So this is why both this implementation will be square root of n time. But if we see closely the
No,
function
the
which
first
we are
one would
taking.
be linear, no? Arrange points 1.
No.
This should be
It
linear,
won't
right?
be linear no, because you are actually subtracting.
Yeah.
The number
So
of
this
points
is
are increasing
same.
every time.
Yeah. So the value of I will always be less than. Uh, so the value of I will be always less than such that I into I plus 1 by 2 will be less than or equal to n. So if we again solve the value of I, it will be at most square root of n only. This is similar to yesterday's question which we were solving one question where we took the estimation where the consecutive sum problem.
First question, yeah. 1 plus 2
Yeah,
plus
yeah.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
it.
there we were doing the same thing. Now, if we look at this equation, this is monotonically increasing in nature. So this is why we can just binary search on our final answer. Now I'll just share the binary search implementation. Now, if the value of n is 0, we just return 0 since no value exists. Now, otherwise, the value will start, the lower range will be 1 and the higher range will be n. We can also take it n by 2 anyways. Now, yeah,
that equation which you wrote is not always monotonic increasing, right? Both the properties it follows. At times it will be increasing and then decreasing, right? I mean, the graph will be like a parabola, right? So how do you say always increasing it? You got my point.
no,
should
for
be,
we are
it should be
taking only
increasing.
positive, we are taking only the positive quadrant.
Yeah, then it works. Yeah.
Yeah,
Harmonically,
if we take negative quadrant, then this question is not, this question will not make sense if we take the negative quadrant.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
That
see,
is
so
fine,
both the
no?
value and the sum is positive, no? So you don't have to worry about that.
Hmm.
yeah.
So
It's
we are
only the
just
first
physical
quadrant.
quantity as coins. That is the reason actually it makes more sense.
Yeah. So here I've taken long as the value of the midpoint since when we are multiplying this value and the value of okay, they
Your
have
voice,
not
I think,
specified it. Hello,
got
hello,
stuck, right? Or am I the only?
hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can hear
Both
you.
are audible.
Okay. Okay. So imagine the value of small n to be 10 to the power 9 or int max, then this value will go out of bound. So this is why I've taken it as long.
Mhm.
Now we just find the equation, the value of the equation, and if it is less than or equal to, we just set the left pointer to the given value of midpoint. Otherwise, if this goes out of the given value of n, we set our right pointer to the mid minus 1. And the reason I'm taking +1 and 2.0 here, because it was giving me time limit exceed error in the solution. Okay, here they have not. Yeah,
But you
when
don't
I
have
was
to take
compiling.
2.0. The other one is
Uh,
fine.
so when I was taking compiling the code for the given uh, test cases, then I was getting time limit exceed errors. So I had to add some extra factor. Anyways, this will be midpoint of L and R, but it will be always taking the left part, right part if the range, the value of the range is odd. So this is what it is doing. This +1. It is taking seal of the midpoint, and this
Yeah.
is
Okay. So this is a bit confusing. So your binary search space is what? So what is this LNR? Is this the sum or is this the number? I think
these
it's the
are the
sum.
numbers. No, these are the numbers.
Number of coins. The
Like
initial
L is
coin
equal to
1.
1. Yeah.
Right.
So
So total
we
sum,
are
right? You are
binary
trying to
searching
arrange
on
as
our
n.
answer. Yeah. Yeah, we are binary searching on our final answer. Like the value of our final answer will lie in this range only. That is 1 to n. And now we can just keep checking if the mid plus 1 by 2 lies in the
No,
range.
no, wait. So how can your answer ever be n? I don't think so.
No, it won't be. This is why I said it, you can take it as n by 2 or square root of n
Yeah,
into 2.
square root of yeah.
N into 2. But again, if I use square root here, then again it will add extra square root factor. And then in the total time complexity, it will take square root time. So to avoid extra square root factor, this is why I was doing n there. But anyways, the complexity will come out to be log of n.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
So if you
Okay, so
Mhm.
before that, so you are running your binary search on 1 to n. And when you find the middle, so what is that middle? Middle is the answer, a possible answer, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it is one of the possible answers.
Okay.
So same algorithm is used for
Alright.
finding the square
So
root of a number.
yeah, he's trying to find the steps. He takes the steps and he checks how much coins are consumed for that step.
Yeah.
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 So therefore, he's using
So,
m into m plus 1/2. Okay.
so we are for binary searching on our final answer itself. This is how we can take this.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Same
Yeah.
thing we use for finding the root also. Binary search. You take
Yeah. Same we do this. M into m is less than or equal to n.
Yeah, you have to go till root n only, that case, right?
yes, because beyond
Yeah.
that, I mean, it's not possible.
Well,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah. Even the complexity will be log of n for the most optimized one in the square root function.
well, okay, if
Or
could you
you
go
can
back to the implementation, please? The binary. Yeah. In this, while loop, why are you considering L is not equal to R? Why can't you look for L is less than or less than R?
Yeah. So if we see here, so the right pointer always points to the value where so the right pointer will always point to the value where this mid is not satisfied. So at last, where this right pointer will point to? It will point to the first value where this condition is satisfied.
So that condition, what you are doing, if m into m plus 1/2, okay, if that value, if it was less than your n, okay, then
Yeah,
you could have moved your left pointer to your this m plus 1, right?
yeah. So,
I
so
don't know because
anyways,
I
if we
think because
change,
this is a
yeah,
very
yeah,
non-standard implementation of binary search. Yeah, it might be a
yeah,
good way to implement
yeah,
here. So I was trying to understand why it is like this you have to implement.
yeah.
Is it especially for
This
this problem
this
only?
while loop can be changed anyways, but
Okay.
we just need to keep in mind that this condition does not change the complexity of the code to time limit exceeded. Like if I change it to less than equal to r, then this might happen that, or if I change this l equal to m plus 1, now this might happen that, okay, now if I change this to not equal to r, then this might happen that these two never converges, but at one instant, this left value will go to right plus 1, and then it will keep moving, and this will never terminate.
Okay. So you are saying it might go in infinite loop if you do it that way.
Yeah. So
Okay.
this will vary according to the implementation, but here I use this implementation. We can use any other implementation as well, or we can use another answer variable where we can just check if this condition is less than or equal to n. We can assign the answer to that particular m, and at last we can just check all the we can just check max value of all the answers which we considered, since the answer will always be set to values where our given equation is satisfied.
Yeah.
So
So
even
last
that
previous
is one
one.
of the implementation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So this is good. So even if you look at the first implementation, what Shashank was actually, you know, uh, he was demonstrating as well as you. So both of these solutions are also not a linear solutions, right? The first
Yeah,
Finally,
yeah,
implementation,
yeah.
they are not. So they are very closer to the binary search implementation, right?
Yeah. The most brute force one would be just linearly traverse from 1 to n and then check at any instant if the given formula goes out of the value of n, we can just break out there.
Hmm.
So that would be the most brute force one. Then we can further optimize it to square root of n, and then again to log of n.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's perfect.